The vast emptiness of space surrounding the Pyrrhus Nebula suddenly came alive with activity. Commander Tejo's sensors pinged loudly at his monitoring station, drawing the attention of everyone on the Conclave observation post. His large eyes widened as he studied the readings before him. Unknown vessel detected entering Sector 7, Tejo announced, his three-fingered hands moving quickly across the holographic controls. Configuration matches nothing in our database. The other Rigelian officers gathered around his station, their slender forms casting long shadows in the dim light of the monitoring chamber. Admiral Jaiwu approached from her command platform, her crystalline exoskeleton glinting under the blue emergency lights that had automatically activated. "Show me," she ordered. The main view screen flickered to life, displaying a massive vessel unlike anything the Conclave had encountered in their 3,000 years of space exploration. The ship was sleek yet heavily armored, with what appeared to be weapon ports lining its hull. Most striking was its size, nearly 3 kelops in length, making it larger than the Conclave's largest battlecruiser. "Is it broadcasting any signals?" Admiral Jaiwu asked. "None that we recognize," Tejo replied. "Their technology seems different." Admiral Jaiwu considered their options. The Galactic Conclave had encountered 17 new species in the past century alone, but none had arrived in vessels so clearly built for combat. Still, protocol was clear. "Deploy the diplomatic vessel Harmony," she commanded. "If they're newcomers seeking to join the Conclave, we must welcome them properly." Then, more quietly to her second-in-command, and alert the defense fleet. "Keep them just beyond sensor range." The Harmony, a sleek vessel designed specifically for first contact situations, approached the unknown ship cautiously. Captain Miho, a veteran of 7 first contact missions, felt uncharacteristically nervous. Something about this vessel triggered warning signals in her instincts. "Broadcast greeting messages on all standard frequencies," she instructed her communications officer. "Include visual patterns and mathematical sequences." For nearly 30 minutes, they received no response. The massive vessel continued its steady course through conclave space, seemingly oblivious to their presence. Then suddenly, the Harmony's communication array lit up. "They're responding," the communications officer exclaimed. "Audio and visual transmission incoming." The main screen flickered, and for the first time, the conclave representatives saw the newcomers. The bridge fell silent. The beings on screen looked almost primitive, bipedal, with internal skeletons visible in their structure. Their bodies were wrapped in some form of protective covering, but their faces remained exposed, showing soft tissue without any natural armor. They had 2 forward-facing eyes, small breathing and sound-producing orifices, and a covering of fiber-like material on the top of their heads. "This is Captain Min J. Park of the United Nations ship Invictus. We come in peace as representatives of humanity and Earth." The translator system struggled momentarily before producing comprehensible output. Captain Miho stepped forward. "I am Captain Miho of the Galactic Conclave. We welcome you to our space," she said carefully. "May I ask your purpose here?" The human captain smiled, revealing flat teeth that suggested an omnivorous diet. "Exploration, Captain Miho. The Invictus is a mid-range science vessel mapping this sector. We've been observing your communication networks for some time to learn your languages." "A science vessel?" Captain Miho exchanged glances with her first officer. "The Invictus carried weapon ports that could likely destroy the Harmony with a single volley. We would be honored if you would accept an invitation to meet with Conclave representatives," Captain Miho offered. "Perhaps an exchange of delegations?" Captain Minjay nodded. "We would welcome that opportunity. We've prepared our meeting facilities for visitors with various atmospheric and gravitational needs." Within hours, the exchange was arranged. As the Conclave shuttle approached the massive human vessel, the delegates grew increasingly nervous. Close up, the Invictus was even more impressive, battle scars visible on its armor plating, strange technological appendages extending from its hull, and hangar bays that could hold dozens of smaller craft. When they docked and the airlock cycled open, Admiral Jaiwu was the first to step aboard. She was immediately struck by the heavy artificial gravity and dense atmosphere. It felt like walking through liquid to her lightweight frame. A human female stepped forward, extending a hand in what the translator suggested was a greeting gesture. Welcome aboard the Invictus. I'm Lieutenant Gina Lee, First Contact Specialist. On behalf of humanity, we look forward to peaceful relations with the Galactic Conclave. As they were led deeper into the massive ship, one thought echoed through Admiral Jaiwa's mind: if this behemoth was merely a science vessel, what did their actual warships look like? The Conclave delegation moved cautiously through the wide corridors of the UNS Invictus. Delegate Hyanwa's environmental suit sensors kept alerting him to conditions that should have been lethal: oxygen levels far too high, radiation readings that would cause cellular damage to his species, and gravity that made each step an effort. How do you survive in these conditions? He asked Lieutenant Gina Lee, who walked comfortably beside him without any protective gear. Lieutenant Lee looked confused. These are standard Earth conditions. We've adjusted the ship to match our homeworld. The delegation entered what the humans called a mess hall. Dozens of crew members sat at tables, consuming various substances. One human poured steaming liquid from a container into a small cup and drank it immediately. That's impossible, Delegate Minji whispered to Admiral Jaiwu. The thermal reading on that liquid would cause severe internal burns to any conclave species. Lieutenant Lee noticed their interest. Would you like to try some coffee? It's how most of us start our day. Before Admiral Jaiwu could intervene, Delegate Hyunwoo had stepped closer to examine the beverage. His sensor wand hovered over the cup. This contains a neurotoxin, he announced, his voice rising in alarm. Your crew is consuming poison. The humans in the vicinity laughed, which the translation devices struggled to interpret properly. Lieutenant Lee smiled patiently. Caffeine is a mild stimulant for us. Completely safe for humans in moderate amounts. You consume toxins, for pleasure? Admiral Jaiwu asked, her crystalline eyes widening. Many of our favorite foods and drinks contain compounds that would be harmful in large quantities, Captain Minjae explained, joining the group. Our bodies evolved to process them. The tour continued to a large open area where humans were engaged in physical activity. Some lifted heavy metal objects repeatedly, others ran in circles around the perimeter, and in one corner, two humans were striking each other with padded gloves. What is happening here? Admiral Jaiwu asked, concerned they had stumbled upon some form of punishment chamber. This is our recreation facility, Lieutenant Lee explained. Physical exercise keeps us healthy and combat ready. They watched as a human male lifted a weight that, according to Delegate Minji's scanner, massed more than an adult Centaurian. The delegation's security officer, Sunho, calculated that the human was lifting nearly twice his own body weight without apparent difficulty. All humans can do this? Sunho asked, his protective scales flattening against his body in a defensive posture. With proper training, yes, Captain Minjae said. Though some are naturally stronger than others. As they continued their tour, a sudden shudder ran through the ship. The artificial gravity fluctuated briefly, causing the delegation members to float momentarily before crashing painfully back to the deck. The humans merely adjusted their stance, appearing entirely unbothered by the shift. Lieutenant Dongwoo casually reached out and caught Ambassador Minji with one arm before she collided with a bulkhead. He held her effortlessly, despite her species being 3 times the mass of an average human. Sorry about that, he said, setting her gently back on her feet. Engineering is testing a new drive configuration. Are you injured? Ambassador Minji was too shocked to respond immediately. She had just been handled as easily as a child's toy by a being half her size. Your physical capabilities are unexpected, Admiral Jaiwo said carefully. Later, in the ship's conference room, the delegation was shown images of Earth storms that would strip flesh from bone, oceans deep enough to crush any conclave vessel, temperature variations that ranged from freezing to boiling, and gravity nearly twice what most conclave species evolved in. This is where you evolved? Delegate Hyunwoo asked, unable to hide his horror. It's home, Lieutenant Lee said simply. It's beautiful, though I understand it might seem harsh to you. When shown images of Earth's wildlife, the delegation became increasingly disturbed. Predators with teeth designed for tearing flesh, venom capable of killing in minutes, creatures that hunted in organized packs. And humans survived alongside these beasts? Admiral Jaiwu asked. We didn't just survive, Captain Minjay explained. We became the dominant species. That evening, after returning to their own vessel, the delegation compiled their reports. The terms Deathworlders and Apex Predators appeared frequently. They drink poison for pleasure, exercise by simulating combat, and evolved on a world we classified as uninhabitable, Delegate Minji summarized. Yet they seem peaceful and wish to establish relations. Admiral Jaiwo stared at the image of the Invictus on her screen. They call this massive, heavily armed vessel a science ship. I fear what they consider an actual warship. Delegate Hyanwa's voice was quiet. What troubles me most is not their strength or their ship's capabilities. It's that they seem genuinely unaware of how terrifying they are. The emergency session of the Galactic Conclave was called just hours after the delegation returned from the human vessel. The Grand Chamber, normally reserved for annual gatherings, now buzzed with nervous energy as representatives from 27 species argued over the new development. Elder Seojan's voice rose above the others, his translucent tendrils pulsing red with agitation. They drink poison for pleasure. This substance called caffeine would kill half the species in this chamber. High Counselor Deho raised his forearms, calling for order. We must approach this situation with calm and reason. The humans have shown no signs of aggression. Their very existence is aggressive, War Master Jinwoo countered, pounding his armored fist on the table. Did you examine their historical archives? They spent most of their development fighting and killing each other. Their entertainment features simulated combat. Even their recreational activities involve violence. Admiral Jaiwu, who had led the delegation to the Invictus, stood to address the assembly. While their physical capabilities are concerning, I detected no immediate hostile intent. They seemed genuinely interested in peaceful contact. Peaceful, scoffed Commander Teho. Their science vessel carries enough weaponry to destroy our entire defense fleet. What happens when they decide our territory looks appealing? The debate continued for hours without resolution. Eventually, High Counselor Deho ordered a general alert to all Conclave vessels but insisted that diplomatic channels remain open. Meanwhile, in another part of the station, a different kind of tension was building. The humans had sent a small shuttle to deliver cultural materials and scientific data as a gesture of goodwill. Captain Hyunbin of the defense ship Vigilant watched its approach with growing unease. It's moving too quickly, he muttered to his tactical officer. And its trajectory brings it close to our defensive grid. The humans claim it's carrying cultural ambassadors, his officer replied, checking the communications log. Captain Hyunbin had reviewed the reports about human physiology and their home planet. He had seen the images of their predators, their natural disasters, their wars. The thought of such creatures gaining access to Conclave defense systems filled him with dread. Send a warning shot across their bow, he ordered suddenly. Force them to change course. Sir, that would violate diplomatic protocols. Do it now. Before they get any closer to our defense grid. The Vigilant fired a low power pulse that flashed past the human shuttle. The effect was immediate, but not what Captain Hyunbin expected. The shuttle came to a complete stop, and all its external systems went dark. Then, without warning, sensors detected massive energy buildups from the Invictus, still positioned several thousand kilometers away. Target locks engaged on the Vigilant and 3 other Conclave ships. They're going to destroy us, Captain Hyunbin whispered, his scales turning pale. But the expected attack never came. Instead, a single precision energy pulse struck the Vigilant, bypassing its shields through a frequency modulation the Conclave had never encountered. The pulse disabled the ship's weapons systems but left life support and propulsion untouched. Captain Minji's face appeared on every screen in the Conclave station. His expression remained calm, but there was steel in his voice. This is Captain Minjae Park of the UNS Invictus. One of your vessels has fired upon our unarmed diplomatic shuttle. We have temporarily disabled their weapons capability but caused no casualties. Please explain why our peaceful mission was met with hostility. In the control center, High Counselor Deho and the Leadership Council watched in stunned silence. The precision of the human response had been terrifying. They could have destroyed the Vigilant but chose instead to deliver a surgical strike that demonstrated their superior technology without causing harm. The humans showed restraint, Admiral Jaiwo noted quietly. They could have interpreted this as an act of war. High Counselor Deho nodded grimly. Open a channel to Captain Minjae. We must apologize for this unfortunate incident. As he prepared to address the human captain, a new alert sounded. Long-range sensors had detected energy signatures at the edge of the system, dozens of them, all matching the profile of the Invictus. War Master Jinwoo studied the readings, his expression grave. We may have made a terrible mistake. Those energy signatures, if each represents a vessel like the Invictus. The implications hung in the air. If the Invictus was merely a science vessel, and these new contacts were actual warships, the Conclave Defense Fleet would stand no chance. Open that channel now, High Counselor Deho ordered urgently. And pray these humans are as peaceful as they claim to be. The Conclave emergency session had been running for 6 straight hours when Scientific Director Sunwoo requested permission to address the assembly. The tension in the chamber was thick enough to cut with a blade as representatives from all 27 member species awaited news about the human fleet positioned at the edge of their territory. Honorable representatives, Director Sunwoo began, his voice steady despite his obvious fatigue. I have completed my analysis of the data provided by the humans. What I have discovered is troubling. The holographic display in the center of the chamber activated, showing a blue-green planet orbiting an unremarkable yellow star. This is Earth, the human homeworld, Director Sunwoo explained. Our exploration protocols classified this planet as uninhabitable over 2,000 cycles ago. Its radiation levels would sterilize most of our worlds. Its gravity is nearly twice what most of our species evolved under. Its atmospheric pressure would crush the respiratory systems of 13 member species. Murmurs spread through the chamber as the images shifted to show Earth's diverse environments, vast oceans with crushing depths, mountains taller than some conclave moons, deserts hot enough to melt Arisian exoskeletons, and polar regions cold enough to shatter Regalian crystal forms. The humans evolved alongside thousands of apex predators, Director Sunwoo continued, displaying images of Earth's wildlife. Their cellular structure can repair damage that would be fatal to any of us. They routinely survive conditions we would consider extinction-level events. War Master Jinwoo rose from his seat. Then we were right to be cautious. These humans are clearly a threat to Conclave security. That conclusion may be premature, Director Sunwoo replied. The display changed again, now showing human art galleries, concert halls, and hospitals. They create beauty, he explained as images of paintings, sculptures, and architecture filled the screen. They make music not just for communication but for emotional expression. And perhaps most surprisingly, they devote enormous resources to healing and protecting their weak and injured. The chamber fell silent as footage played showing human relief workers helping victims after a natural disaster. They're not inherently aggressive, Director Sunwoo concluded. They're survivors who have learned compassion despite evolving in conditions we would consider hellish. Before any discussion could begin, Admiral Jaiwo's communication device chimed urgently. Her face paled as she read the message. New contacts detected beyond the heliopause, she announced. Hundreds of them, all bearing energy signatures similar to the Invictus. The chamber erupted in panic. High Counselor Deho called desperately for order as representatives shouted over each other. The main doors to the chamber slid open. Every voice fell silent as Ambassador Yoonji Kim walked calmly to the center of the room, flanked by Captain Minjae and Lieutenant Gina. The humans seemed oblivious to the effect their presence had on the assembly. I believe you've detected our fleet, Ambassador Kim stated simply. There's no need for alarm. No need? War Master Jinwoo sputtered. You position an armada at our borders and claim peaceful intentions? Ambassador Kim nodded to Captain Minjae, who activated a small device. The holographic display changed to show the positions of the human vessels. Standard protocol, the captain explained. The Invictus was sent ahead to establish peaceful first contact, but our fleet remained positioned outside your sensor range as a precaution. When your vessel fired upon our shuttle, they moved closer but maintained a non-aggressive posture. You expected hostility from us? High Counselor Deho asked. Lieutenant Gina stepped forward. Our history taught us caution. Humans spent thousands of years divided, fighting among ourselves before achieving unity. We projected our own past behaviors onto potential first contact scenarios. The display shifted again, showing historical footage of human wars, then their gradual unification, and finally their expansion into space. The Invictus truly is just a science vessel, Ambassador Kim explained. What you detected are our actual warships, which have remained at a respectful distance. They moved closer only after the incident with our shuttle. Admiral Jaiwo studied the tactical display with new understanding. The Invictus was never a threat. It was a test to see how we would react to a species we perceived as dangerous. Ambassador Kim smiled slightly. Not a test, Admiral. An invitation. The Invictus represents what humans hope to be: explorers first, warriors only when necessary. Scientific Director Sun Wu approached the humans with newfound respect. Your people evolved in conditions that would kill most of ours instantly. You survived alongside predators that would devastate our worlds. Yet instead of becoming conquerors, you seek to exchange knowledge. Survival taught us adaptation, Ambassador Kim replied. But suffering taught us empathy. We hope the Conclave shares these values. For the first time since the humans arrived, High Counselor Deho felt hope rather than fear. Perhaps, he said quietly, we have much to learn from each other. 3 days after the Conclave's emergency session, representatives from all 27 member species gathered at the observation platform of the Pyrus Nebula Station. No one spoke as they watched the approaching vessel. Unlike the sleek science ship Invictus, this was clearly a warship, the UNS Dauntless, flagship of the human fleet. The ship was massive, nearly 5 times the size of the Invictus. Its hull gleamed with a strange material that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Weapons ports lined its surface, currently closed but unmistakable. High Counselor Deho felt a shiver run through his body as the behemoth moved into position. The demonstration will begin shortly, Ambassador Yunji Kim announced from her position beside the Conclave leadership. On a nearby moon, target drones had been positioned according to human specifications. These were not simple practice targets but hardened replicas of actual Conclave defense systems, complete with shield technology that had protected their borders for centuries. Admiral Yuna's face appeared on the main view screen. Her uniform was different from those the Conclave had seen before, more formal, with gleaming insignia that marked her as a High Commander. With your permission, High Counselor, we will demonstrate standard targeting capabilities, she said calmly. Deho nodded, trying to hide his anxiety. Proceed, Admiral. What followed left the gathered representatives speechless. The Dauntless didn't move into attack position or launch fighter craft as Conclave doctrine would require. Instead, from its stationary position, pinpoint energy beams struck each target simultaneously at a range the Conclave had deemed impossible for accurate targeting. The target's shields flared briefly, then failed. But instead of destroying the drones, the beams precisely disabled only their weapon and propulsion systems, leaving their cores intact. As you can see, Admiral Yuna explained, our weapons are designed for precision rather than simply destruction. We prefer to disable rather than destroy when possible. Next came a maneuverability demonstration. The massive Dauntless moved in ways that defied the physics models the Conclave had developed over millennia. It accelerated at rates that would have killed any Conclave crew, changed direction without the expected turning radius, and at one point, seemed to briefly phase partially out of normal space before reappearing. When the demonstration concluded, silence filled the observation deck. The Conclave representatives had just witnessed technology centuries beyond their own. Admiral Yuna transported to the station along with a small delegation of senior officers. She approached the High Counselor and, to everyone's surprise, extended her hand in the human greeting gesture. High Counselor Deho, on behalf of the United Earth Government, I formally request discussion of a possible alliance between humanity and the Galactic Conclave. Alliance? War Master Jin Wu questioned, finding his voice. After demonstrating your superior military power, you speak of alliance rather than terms of surrender? Admiral Yuna's expression remained serene. We don't seek conquest, War Master. Earth spent too long divided against itself. We've learned that lesson at great cost. She activated a small device that projected images of Earth's history, centuries of warfare followed by decades of healing and unification. Humanity nearly destroyed itself before we understood that cooperation brings greater strength than domination, she explained. We seek allies, trade partners, and friends among the stars. We bring different perspectives and technologies that could benefit all. Over the following weeks, human specialists met with conclave experts across numerous fields. In the medical wing, Dr. Junha demonstrated regenerative techniques that could save species previously considered beyond help. In engineering labs, human technicians worked alongside Arisian scientists to solve propulsion problems that had stumped them for generations. Most surprising to many was the cultural exchange. Human artists, musicians, and historians shared their works and listened with genuine interest to those of the conclave species. Human children connected via transmission with young ones from other worlds, finding games they could play despite physical differences. 6 weeks after first contact, the formal treaty signing ceremony was broadcast across all conclave worlds. Many citizens remained wary of these resilient newcomers, but curiosity was quickly replacing fear. Elder Seojun, who had once called for human containment, stood on the observatory deck watching a group of human engineers teaching Rigelian technicians about materials science. He turned to High Counselor Daeho, who had joined him. Perhaps we needed their perspective, Seojun mused. Those who evolved facing death daily truly understand how precious life is. High Counselor Daeho nodded slowly. For 3,000 years, the Conclave believed we were the pinnacle of evolution. Now we learn that what we considered uninhabitable produced beings who surpass us in many ways. Not surpass, corrected Ambassador Kim, who had approached quietly. Different. Your species developed incredible technologies without the pressure of our harsh world. We developed resilience without your unity. Together, we can achieve what neither could alone. As the human fleet took up positions alongside Conclave defense ships at key border points, the galaxy witnessed the beginning of a new era. One where humanity's strength and the Conclave's wisdom created something greater than either could have imagined alone.